Anyway, we're going to talk about raising men today. And this is the beautiful thing. I'm here with Niels Pilaar. Niels Pilaar has been a teacher of mine. Yeah, well, that's funny.
Oh my goodness.
Well, yeah, you've been a teacher in Primal. I was at Primal therapy retreat for a week.
Yeah.
And there I met this man. He was a co-teacher next to Puja, Lepp. And that was quite an epiphany for me. Ever since, like, we've been in contact. When was it? September. We did a men's retreat together.
Yeah.
With some other guys. And Niels works a lot with men. I work a lot with men. I have a company called Mentor of Men. And we both have quite some sons. Okay, if I'm not mistaken, you have 4, right? 4 sons.
I have 4 sons. Yeah.
Jesus. Okay. Well, I have 2. So together we have 6 sons. But we're working a lot with men and the struggles that men have these days. And in our men's retreat, we go into a lot of these topics with adult men. But I think one of the big things that is a theme in my life is how do I deal with my little men, to deliver them as proper guys, like I would like to hand them off, drop them off in the world. So I was thinking, you have even way more experience than me on this topic. Also with the men's work, you can do men's work way longer than me. So I thought, let's have a good discussion about this. Yeah? So why this is needed and what we are running into, the things we're still doing that aren't working anymore, and how to do things differently or start doing things differently. So I would like to have a talk on that with you, and I'm very curious on your views on these things. But maybe you can introduce yourself first.
I love this, what you do, Eric. You throw so many things at me, then I suddenly have to choose where to start. Basically, I think you've introduced me. At present, I'm a co-facilitator at Puja's childhood deconditioning. I'm also a numerologist, transformation game coach. And yes, I've had many years working with people in companies as a CEO. The thing that has struck me, and I think that brought me basically into this whole personal development business, and especially when it deals with men, is that I found out in business, actually, that in order to get a company into what Mishinsky calls flow, where things sort of go by themselves and you become highly successful, it is when people connect to who they are in their core. And a lot of people are not connected to their core. They're very much identified, as we say in Primal, with their personality, the way they have learned to survive in the world. And, all these survival mechanisms may make that at present you can still hold your position, and they were very essential for you as a child. But as a grown-up, you want to be able to play with it, to flow with it, and basically get in contact with why you are really here and what your gift to the world is. So I got very much interested in trying to find out if I want to make my teams successful, how do I get them to the point where they kind of feel enthusiastic, invigorated to do what they want to do? Then you have to look at your childhood conditioning. Because, we grow up as helpless little kids. And we need our parents to take care of us. So, and this is what the brain does also. The brain is very flexible. The brain adapts to whatever situation there is. So you will adapt and you will learn from your parents. Now, if you have an absent father, what are you going to learn about masculinity if he's not there? If you have a very dominant father, what are you going to learn from him? If you have a very docile father, what are you going to learn from him? And you will take that into your present life as an adult. It will also influence you. And that's what I found out, because I was in this huge meeting, and I was confronted by my group managing director at the time. And the guy's half my size, and he called me out, and I couldn't answer. And I couldn't understand why not. So thank God I had the mentor at the time. So I'm very happy you're a mentor of men, because I think we men need mentors. And he says, why didn't you answer? You're twice his size. I said, I couldn't. Lo and behold, it went back to something that happened in my childhood, to never question the authority of my parents. Because if I were to question the authority of my parents, they would send me to an orphanage. That's what they said.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that was subconscious. That was something that happened when I was 4 or 5 years old. And as a grown-up guy from 35, 110 kilos, almost 2 meters, I collapsed like a little boy. So what I have learned is, wherever I am, even at my current age, there's still the little Niels inside of me. And what I do know is that as a kids, in order to grow and to survive, we will mirror our parents. Those are the big examples. So as a parent, as a father, I need to be extremely aware of what my conditioning is. Because I know that my kids are going to look at me and they're going to copy me or do the opposite. But even if they do the opposite, they're still referencing to me. So if I want to be a good father, a supportive father, I set an example. I'm clear about my truths, my shortcomings, and I try to stimulate that they find whatever they are good at. And, you know, it sounds simple. I can explain it in 3 sentences. And then, it's a whole life's work to get there. Because these conditionings, they're so deep.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah.
Like you can be aware of all this. You can even have seen those patterns in yourself. And like I had it yesterday, like my youngest one, he snaps and he explodes, and I'm instantly, within a split second, I'm in my child.
Yep.
And I lash out. And even and I still think, like, why the hell does this still happen? You know, and you've been doing all the work, and you've been cautious, but still, it's really a life's work. And before you know it, they're out of the house. But still, yeah. You
know, and it's great, because I reckon that by the time they go out of the house and they do feel unseen, unheard, they can come back to you and say, Dad, you didn't see me, you didn't hear me. And I reckon you're one of the dads that will actually say, yeah, sorry, I noticed that. I'll take responsibility for it. You know, to be the perfect parent, I hope it's possible, but I've lost the idea. All I can do is that I'll take responsibility for it. You know, and I remember in the last Primal, I was standing there listening to the stories, and they hit me, you know, when we're doing the work. And I suddenly realized, oh shit, with one of my sons, when he was like 3, 4 years old, he was terrible getting him into bed. And then we would just lock him up in the room. So I violated, at a very young age, his boundaries. Then he grows up and he has difficulty keeping his boundaries. Guess why? You know, and this is where raising men gets tough. And the same thing holds when you talk to a guy who's doing his job, and you notice immediately in the way he talks about his boss that he's not talking about his boss, he's trying to get the attention of his father. And that's the work that we're in. And the only way, you know, if you're lucky, you have a father that you can talk to. Mine's dead for many, many years. And I was very, very lucky to have some mentors, even up until today, because I consider Puja in this respect my mentor, to reflect with, but also to be with men. My first mentor, other than my father, was Erik van Praag, and he introduced me to men's work. He formed men's groups. And the simple fact of getting together with other men and this is the whole art, you know, how do you give feedback to the other person without dumping your shit on the other person? But in order to be able with other men to exchange your views, your struggles, and they always go on the big life areas. First of all, your romantic relationship, your intimate relationship, your kids, your work, your passion. It's the same thing all over. And to be seen and heard and supported in the progress that you make, and in a very respectful and compassionate way, being told where you're off. And especially in Europe, as opposed to the United States, we have this very Calvinistic, I'll tell you what's wrong with you approach. And to have a group of friends around you, deep men that will carry you and say, yeah, you fucked up, but we still love you. That wasn't right what you did. You totally lost it, asshole, but we love you. That's the kind of support that you wanted from your father. That's the support that you can get from your friends. And basically, I think that's the support you want to give to your own kids. To give them the opportunity to make mistakes and say, yeah, you fucked up, and I still love you, and I'll help you sort it out. And not try to be their parent anymore, especially once they're over 21.
Yeah, that's funny when you say that, because, when the idea of fucking up, I fuck up, and when I do, for instance, in my role as a father, in my own parenting, what the example I just gave about yesterday, that I snapped, and then in the end I tell him, the way I responded there doesn't feel right for me, I want to say sorry to you, that I responded in that way. And even my own son, he's 9 years old now. So when he spots this in me, or he does it, and he says okay, Dad, let's do this again. I want to have a good day with you today. So let's make a good day of it together. Yeah. And he's teaching me this lesson, right? So because I once showed him from my own place of vulnerability that I was struggling, I was having a hard time, I was getting triggered because my kids, they're beautiful, but they're both autistic, and that's very challenging for me as a father, because they if they don't want to brush their teeth, it's let's go brush your teeth. Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, but you have to. But I don't want to. And then it's really hard sometimes to stay this grounded parent if somebody's he really pushes my buttons, because he's missing sort of the social sensitivities that most people have. So he's really pushing on my pain of rejection, or the things that I'm struggling with. I don't get respect, or I don't feel seen in it. And then this is what I think when it's about raising boys. In the end, raising boys is the same as raising men. Even if what we do in our weekends is we bring in adult men, and even then we are sort of collectively amongst men, we are raising each other. We are challenging each other and holding up that mirror towards each other, right? Because also still that little inner child is I think Freud said, we're all children, So it's a life's work.
It's a life's work.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it affects, as you say, it affects how we deal with our children. Our children become our own teachers if we accept their mirrors. Mm-hmm. And again, the important thing is, unless your father is alive and unless you have a father that you can actually talk to, you need some support group. If he's not there, you will need a support group of men to support you in struggling through life, because that's the best alternative that we've got. And it's great to be in an intimate relationship, and so I have a great connection with my wife, but it's a different game. And even there you need men to support you. Because if you get hurt by your children, or you get hurt by your beloved, you need to work it out. And where do you work it out? With whom do you work it out? The kid leans on you. Our inner child leans on our adult us. There's the physical children that we have, but there's also the internalized, the little Niels that is still there. It's the playful one. It's the naughty one. It's the creative one. It's the explosive one. So I don't want to lose the contact with that one. I don't want to swamp it down. But at times it overtakes me. And I get, like you said, I explode. I get too emotional. And then the adult one needs to come back. And sometimes that's just too damn difficult. And then I can reach out to a couple of brothers and suddenly click, I'm back into my adult self and I can hold the little Niels. I think that's the beauty of the work that we do. Not that we're perfect. We accept the fact that we make mistakes every single moment, every single day, but we are accountable, we take responsibility, and we reach out.
It's interesting how you describe that. When we're talking about raising or even carrying or nurturing our child, our sons or our daughters, I think it's twofold. There are more children. They're not only our physical children, but there's our own inner child.
There's our inner child,
and we can only really be present with our child and really see them for what they are if we see ourselves for who we are.
Exactly. So if your inner child is needy because it didn't get attention from the adult you, it will try to get it from other people. And that pisses people off. It pisses children off. Because they want the father. You wanted a father to support you. You wanted a father to see you. Not that you need to see your father, because then you're turning the tables. That's not healthy. So you need to find a way as a man to nurture yourself.
Yeah. And also you gotta drag it out of your child, right? And then this is the thing that for me personally is the most important thing as a father, is that I want my sons to be as authentic as possible for themselves. So all the choices they will make in their life, they will make for themselves and not to please me because I rejected them, for instance. So they start rebelling against me, or they start really being this adaptive child that's going to really, really try to please daddy all their lives. So what are the choices they're making then in their lives? So is it to get my validation? So, hey, look, Dad, I finally did it. I'm good enough, Gotta get some love. Or do they do it because they are inherently just doing it because it's something that's inside them, their gift, like you call it. Huh? So what is their motive for their actions? That's something that, for instance, on first Christmas Day, I had a beautiful talk with my oldest son. He couldn't sleep and he was on the couch with me. And he starts he was a bit like you. He starts talking for 3 hours to me. Yeah, he loves to talk to. And I'm just listening, and he's just telling me everything about. He created his own archetypes, of these sort of role models that he sees in life, where he can go and what kind of man he can be. And it's really the things that he's how he has created this is values he finds very interesting for himself or valuable for himself. And he sort of he was lecturing me on this, and I was just listening to him. I think this boy's got it pretty figured out. And he's I also in school I see there's kids who are trying. He feels the pressure to adapt and to change a little bit, to be cool in school. But then he's I don't really care about that. And sometimes, I don't know, maybe it is also the autism that he that he got picked on. Yeah. And instead of adapting to the pressure or folding towards it, yeah. he kept his spine straight, and he said no, but this is who I am and this is who I want to be.
So where did he learn that?
Well, yeah, it's something that I talk about, and also in our work. So maybe, and again, it's something that I instilled in him, and we have to see if it's actually his, right?
Well, watch it. I don't think you can instill something in someone.
Okay, well, maybe inspire him in it, or
if it. Yeah. What you through your own behavior, you must have somehow triggered it in him because he has the same quality. And I think that's a perfect example of what I would call good parenting. It gets more difficult when your children have an ability that is not yours and that you do in that way. And then still to show them the respect. Oh, I got
a question here.
Niels, do you support raising the inner child to some kind of maturity? Is that possible? Or is your standpoint more let the inner child be as it is? Well, you answered the question, Midza. The inner child is the inner child. It is our creative part. It is our innovative part. And we want to keep it up. What I would like to do with my inner child is that it's safe and that it feels seen and heard and that it can play. So I'm not want to mature my inner child because there is a mature Niels. I want the inner child to feel safe and seen and heard. And Eric, I think that's what you did with your son and what you're doing, because having autistic children is a huge challenge. And my question before you told that story was to you, how authentic are you? Because this is what you want your sons to be. If you were to ask your children, how authentic do you think I am? You have one hell of a feedback loop.
No, just maybe I should get them here. They're playing in the room next door. I should ask them.
Yeah,
I'm gonna ask them after this one.
Yeah, but it's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm not. It's.
Oh, there's another question.
I think it depends on who you ask, right? I think this is also an eye of the beholder. But when we talk about like developing your own authenticity, I think it's one of the biggest things you can do also for your children, that they really see that if they trust you because they feel you're real, then they also learn that they don't have to wear the mask themselves in life, or what the power of it is.
I have the impression that when you're real, they will trust you.
Exactly.
It's unrealness. When you put on the persona, when you put on the personality, that they sort of turn away. I think there was a question by Björn.
Yeah, let's see.
One. What about when you suddenly have to be a parent for your parents? This was when I was 13 and it continued till my father passed away in 2008. Here it has been me who has exploded towards my parents. Today I have a daughter of 8 and I make sure that I'm listening and available at all times. The thing is, if you as a child had to take care of your parents, it was reversing the tables, and that will have a major influence on you. Mm. The only thing I believe you can do in that situation is to actually work on it and say, what did I miss? What did my little Björn miss because I had to take care of my parents? And to find some ways in your present day to attend to your little Björn and make sure that you may have missed out on a huge part of your adolescence. Finding out the fun stuff in love. And then you do it as an adult, but in a very self-conscious way, so that you're basically taking care of your own inner child. And then automatically you will take care of your own child. Because the child will know Dad holds himself. I think for me, the most important thing as a parent is that my children have that Dad can take care of himself. We can lean on Dad. That's also how it systemically works. We stand on the shoulders of our parents. If we suddenly have to carry our parents, we turn the tables, and it becomes increasingly difficult. So to be, and apparently, Björn, you are aware of this fact. So yes, doing work, doing the deconditioning retreats and stuff like that, being in the groups, in the support groups, having a men's group, in order to be able to express your inner child and to teach your adult child, your adult self, to work with it. That is, I think, the way out. At least it was the way out for me, and those that have done it say the same thing. And still, I can get triggered. And I would reckon Björn can get triggered in particular situations when he feels that an adult doesn't take his own responsibility. I get extremely pissed when I see adult men not taking their responsibility. But that's my wound. It's my inner child's wound, because my father stepped out of life when he was 49 and left me 23. So I'm overreacting there. And all I can say is, make sure that I'm in an environment that they can mirror that and say, hang on, Niels, you're back in your trip of trying to prove yourself that you are allowed to be here. No one can give you that response but yourself. So, yeah. Good questions, by the way. Whoa.
Yeah, great question.
Yeah, they go deep. They go very deep.
Also, I wonder for Björn then, how much space does he allow for his inner child? Because he has been taught to having to act as an adult all the time.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. But basically, I was thrown into the role of the duplicate father when I was 23. So basically, I worked my ass off from 23 till 58. In this serving mode, I have to survive it, man. And I lived that part of my adolescence, the free life, the fun life, when I was 58. So it's never too late. It's never too late to give attention to the little you and to carry it and to have fun with it. The thing is, when you as an adult are, let's say, 90% in yourself, carrying yourself, your kids will love you.
I'm already smiling because I know it's true, and it's even joyful. I think that's just for children. It's so important to see that the parents are actually living a good life or are happy with the way that they're living their life. That gives them a lot of space to relax because they don't have to get attuned to all the stress in the household. Yeah. So when the parents are actually doing well, it's a great example for them. It also gives them space to be themselves.
Yeah. There's a point here. I would like to. I believe that, especially as the man, as the father in the house, first of all, the kids need to feel safe. Like I'm protected. Dad carries it. And then the other part where daddy comes in, because mommy sort of nurtures the kids, and then for the first 13 years, it's more mommy's energy, and then daddy comes in. And that's safety on one side and learning how to get out in the world. So you also, I think it's very important and to challenge your children on what they're good at. Push them in a direction, say, become an accountant because that's a safe job. What's your passion? And in a very compassionate way. And the way to do that and to practice, because that's an art in itself, how you talk to your children about it. There you also need your brothers. You need your other men. You need to be in a group of men where we challenge each other. Because once you master that art of compassionate challenging, calling you out, triggering you for, hey, hang on, guy, you're good at this. Why aren't you doing more on that? You say, well, it's just fun. I have to make more. Yeah, but you're good at this. So what's keeping you behind? Because once you know that, you will do it automatically with your kids too. And they will love you. There has to be this, for me at least, this certain degree between where they hate you and love you. That's the one thing my father gave me. He challenged me. He constantly questioned me. Why do you want to do that? What's the purpose of it? It doesn't pay you any money. Why do you do that? And that made me think. If I want to do something, it's because I want it, not because the old fucker wants it. And I still want his attention. But that's how life is. And it gets fascinating.
It's beautiful. I'm not sure whether you're aware of this, but after our last men's retreat in September, I think within a week, two of the guys, they quit their jobs. Maybe even more, I'm not sure. One of the guys, he moved in with his girlfriend after holding off all the time. And these guys, they got this feedback, they got this challenge, and they woke up to it, and this is the beauty of it. Last Tuesday, I had a second meeting with a men's group that also started from that same weekend. And we had a mastermind session, with a hot seat, and everybody had to share how they were, what is it in English word for it? In Dutch, we call it verlogen. How you, are you violating your own boundaries, or you have your own boundaries trespass and you're allowing it, or you're pleasing, but like you're not standing up for yourself. And you get feedback from the guys. And I also told them, like, bring the fire, let them feel it. Yeah, but let it come from a place of love. Yeah. And I have to admit, it was hard. And they went home and they were like, holy fuck, it was amazing. And it was hard, but I loved it. And also what happened, I thought like, oh God, I was kind of scared to do this because I thought, like, are they ready for this? But we did it anyway. And then 2 days later, one of the guys, he really like sort of rubber banded the other way. And he started like kind of lashing out, But still, this is challenging for men. A lot of us, we're not used to this, And we're not used to this sort of. I see it as a high level of intimacy. It's super vulnerable, and even giving that kind of feedback is also in a way very vulnerable because somebody's gonna push you away because you're too confrontational, you're too direct. But still, the dynamic that we see there amongst men, that's a sort of a fire that we're not used to anymore. And I miss that. I love that. I like to get this challenge and this push, like you just described.
Where do you practice this on a daily, weekly basis?
Where?
Yeah.
Or we don't.
How? You don't?
Maybe I didn't hear your question correctly then.
Well, I'm curious. Practice what you preach. Walk your talk. Those are things,
okay.
Right? So I've, for the past 20, 25 years, I've been in all various kinds of men's groups. Also because my father is no longer there. So I need ersatz. I need something else. I need people that challenge me, that pull me out, where I can practice giving feedback and challenging in a way that it can be understood. And I know you're in a men's group.
No, I'm not anymore. They quit. Half of them quit. I'm still facilitating though, but I'm not actively. But I got challenged on this as well by one of the guys 2 days ago. He's like, I want you, Eric, I don't want you as a facilitator. I want you part of the group. Either you shut up more or you go all in and become an equal with us. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, where I'm going to go with this, but it's another topic. But
that's important topic. It is. Yeah. It is an important topic to be in men's group, and it's an important topic to see what role do I want to have in that men's group. And at a given point in time, especially when you've done all the work, you need to set up men's groups. And
that's what I do now.
Yeah. And I think that's what we need. I'm on so I set up my men's groups, and I still do. I love it. And I have my ongoing men's group in which I'm in now for 22 years. So they, and I've had all the roles there, because I think also in the men's group, you need to rotate the roles. I think a good men's group needs to have a leader, and whether that's for 6 months or for 12 months or for 2 years, I don't care. But someone has to take responsibility to contain that, because that's an art in itself to learn. That the leader is servant leadership. You're serving the group by giving you leadership, by challenging them, by setting the agenda. And that's an art to learn. Usually we would learn that from our fathers, and we don't anymore. So the only way we can do that is through practicing, and to have a lot of age difference in your groups. You need to have young guys in there, and you need to have some old farts in there.
And that's why I have you in my retreat.
That's why I want to come to your retreat. Yeah, okay. Because I want to be challenged. I don't want to be out.
You don't want to be what?
Outdated. Hold the future. You hold the future. So when I was your age, I was being challenged by my teacher, Eric. But also his name was Eric. Now I challenge you and Eve NIA. Because you guys, you're the next wave. You're bringing this broad and wide. And
yeah, that's like it's a beautiful. Like I feel it. That's a purpose for me, my purpose. And
I'm right. The only thing is, I have some experience, and I try to be as much in tune with current society as it is. But I'm very much aware of the fact that I have a huge background of history, so I look in a certain way, and it's up to you to say, okay, old fart, that was great, but we don't do it that way anymore. We're going to do it this way. Great. And I will support you anyway. I will kick your balls and support your back whenever I can.
Yeah, no, you'll kick my balls. You did properly last time.
Love that.
I know, it was very welcome. Yeah, still hurts a bit though. Yeah. Yeah. But back to like what?
Sorry?
No, sorry. What?
No, I believe in healthy healthy challenges is one of the most important things. Dominic says, yeah, it can be.
Dominic's here again. Okay. Yeah, it's always good for a good joke.
You have something. Niels, you mentioned about bringing protection and safety in the house. This guarding presence is something I'm curious about. May I know your insight how my children might experience that without a male living in the household? Then you have to do it as a woman. We're all hermaphrodites. We all have a masculine and a feminine part. And I don't envy the women that have to raise 2 or 3 children on their own, because that's double work. As much, I can nurture, but I'm not as good at it as my wife is, because this is who we are. So you will have to step into your masculine role, which then means that you need to find a place where you can be supported in your femininity, because it's going to drain you, especially as a woman. And the same thing would be me. If I were to be the man who takes care of the entire household and just service all the people in the house, at a given point in time, my energy goes down. So then I need to do some masculine activity to raise my masculinity again. And I would gather that the same thing holds true for women. I hope this sort of answers the question.
Well, it's interesting, like this topic, because as a woman, you can you can develop this part of you, this masculine side. But what I, for instance, also see a lot of times in the men's group, for instance, in couples, is that I think this is one of the biggest problems these days in relationships. Like 80% of divorces are initiated by women. And a lot of the times what I see in the men's groups is there's a lot of frustration with men basically in the way their relationship is going. But a lot of these guys, they sort of abandon leadership, because I think these days a lot of the women, they're having jobs, they're having incomes, they don't really need a man for their security anymore, right? And a lot of the guys are still clinging on to these old paradigms from the past. And they think like, well, yeah, so I'm the guy, okay, I'm going to go work 4 days a week. But in the end, you always see that the women, they work less, they take 2 or 3 days a week. So still, the women have way more load on their shoulders. And still, the men, they feel they're doing their part. But like when you look at the facts, it's not really happening. Or the women are also like what I always tell guys, like Evie's becoming a father. And I already told him, the moment that he shared it was going to be a father, I told him, okay, how far is she in? Like 2 months. Okay, that means she's already 2 months a mother.
Yeah.
You're behind, man, already. And you need to catch up. Yeah, you need to wake up and smell the coffee. You have to start reading this book and get up to speed with what's coming for you, and she's probably gonna breastfeed, she's gonna have broken now, she's gonna be destroyed. You have to step up there and know what's gonna happen, know what's gonna come, and you have to be able to understand what to be part of this team instead of just following. And this is all men almost do, is they follow their women
Yeah.
And I did the same, man. Like my ex-wife, she was a teacher. She did Pabo. She was studied. She's a specialist in pedagogy. And so I figured, like, hey, I'm an amateur here. I have a specialist. Like I'm married to like the top woman to raise a child with. So like, just tell me what to do. And that killed our relationship.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and this is also the example we set to our sons and daughters, because they see this. And they see what it amounts to, and they see the friction that happens between the mother and father, and how the mother is like, you know what, fuck you, I'll do it myself. I'll take care of it because you're not doing it, or you're not seeing it, or you're not acting, or you're just following. And like nobody wants to follow. It's depressing because still you're in the lead. You have to do it. And this is like the masculine energy, right?
I totally agree with you. I think one of the biggest challenges in the modern world is that, physically it's the women that give birth. Mm-hmm. And that sets them back in society. And we men, we just want to do our thing. That's not going to work. We need to change and adapt. And that's not easy.
No. Björn has a question here. What about where there is a lesbian gay couples that have children? Well, my sons have she's not lesbian anymore. My ex-wife's bisexual. She's with a man now again, but she after me she lived with a woman for 6 to 7 years. And I also wonder, like, how is this for my sons, and how about the masculine imprint? And they really felt. And I talked to her about this many times. They felt like we can give them both imprints as women, but they really also had a really different energy. These women, one was very really felt strongly on the masculine side, and my ex-wife, she was more feminine, also like exploring more the masculine side, but still like when you approach it from the polarity side, they sort of embody the masculine and the feminine energy. But like how this actually really reflected on my sons, I'm not sure. I don't know if there's a lack in that situation. I'm happy that I'm still there and that I had my sons to spend time with me, because they have the time they spend with me is really different from the time they spend with their mother. Like today, like I went boxing with my son, and he really wants to learn martial art. He wants to be an MMA fighter. I was like, well, let's join me for boxing, like on Sunday, and let's start there. But these are things like I love giving this to him, and I like also in my upbringing, like doing martial arts and learning to fight and defend myself. It's something like as a father, I feel like it's something that I want to teach my sons. Yeah.
The thing that comes to mind is that in the old Native Americans tribes, they had 16 different denominations for masculine and feminine. We fix it on man and woman. And there they said, no, there's a whole range, and we call it lesbian couples, we call it gay couples. I think you and I, we have seen couples where the polarities were completely reversed. The man was the woman, and the woman was the man. It's about these energies, and we're talking about, I guess, the quality that is needed, and we talk it from a masculine perspective. That's all I can say about it, because I don't have any experience with being in a gay relationship or in a lesbian relationship. But I do think that it poses a huge challenge. I know of boys who never really knew their father, were raised entirely by women. They have great qualities. What they lack is the masculine guidance. It was later in life. We do the best we can.
So there's some. There's like there's been research, a lot of research on in the last 50 years on the impact, mainly. Well, no, it's on children, not even only on men, when they have an absent or no father. and it's not good. It's funny. Like, I think I still have it here.
But then again, there are a lot of children lost even with a present father.
True. But for instance, like ISIS, almost all their recruits are fatherless. Yeah, and if you look at like also prison populations, they're almost all fatherless.
They get extremely attracted to a very old-fashioned macho view of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think bringing kids, but the most important thing for me with kids is, do they feel safe? Do they feel seen? Do they feel heard? And then, yes, it's beautiful if they can get the masculine flavor and the feminine flavor in a healthy way. But those three are the most important ones. And I think in a lesbian or a gay couple, I know some friends of mine that are like that, and these kids can thrive very well. And then there is perhaps in a lesbian couple a bit lack of masculine direction and masculine training. It simply means they need to bring in a friend. Some of them do, so that these kids get this experience, like you did with your wife. You were still there, so they're still exposed. Ideally, it's the father and the mother. But if the father has died in the war, you need to find a solution. So it might be an uncle, it might be a grandfather, it might be a neighbor. And then as a parent, that you actually allow that person into the family to sort of guide the son or the daughter in that direction. Life's not perfect.
Mm.
We try to.
It also maybe answers Angeline's question, right?
Did she?
No, it's like what she said. Like she's raising 3 children by herself. Yeah.
So, if you feel that the kids have that need, bring in some masculine presence. But you might even be in a marriage and your husband happens to be very feminine. Well, so it is. There's nothing wrong with that. And then your son who has this very masculine tendency, then go and find a situation. I always compare it. I was an avid rugby player, and given my size and my height and my weight, I'm predestined to be a second row player. But in rugby, the general thing is, yes, you may have a fixed position where you're best at, but once the game is in play, you play anywhere. And I could be hooker, I could be a flanker. I'm not the best flanker in the world. For Christ's sake, I'm not fast enough. But if it need be, you can do it. So this is where we have to adapt. This is where we need to improvise.
It's interesting. I have a client who's also a stepfather to his son, but the son is like, he's smoking weed all day. He's making trouble. He's pretty lots of conflict in the relationship, and he's just steering clear of the kid. I'm coaching him in this. He has a lot of trouble, with this boy. And the only thing I tell him is that what he needs is not you steering clear. He needs your presence. He needs you to step up and tell him, like, listen, these are the boundaries here. He needs the boundaries. He needs the direction. He needs the guidance. The only thing that kid wants is actually being seen.
Yeah.
But like it will require a lot of patience from you.
If the father or the stepfather is not seeing himself, that's going to be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I always like the analogy. My daughter, she breeds dogs, and she always tells me, Dad, if you want to know the character of the dog owner, look at the dog. The dog copies the dog owner. So if you have an aggressive dog, you have an aggressive dog owner. And if you're a stepfather and you're not paying attention to your stepson, what do you think he's going to do? He's going to... The thing is, this runs not only in families. This same system runs in businesses. Whenever you're in a leadership position in business, you're either in the role of the mother or the father. And all you follow that system. And you may think you're best friends with your sales manager as the managing director, but he still sees you in that authority role, which, and you have to be aware of these things. So if you rest in yourself, if you don't need your children, like you want your wife, but you don't need your wife. Those are two different worlds. You can connect with your wanting. So there's an invitation to connect instead of a need to connect. It becomes a lot easier. And then they feel free to copy and to say, oh, I like that part of dad or that part of mom, and I don't like that part. And I'll go my own way. And you have to remember, once they get into puberty, different rules, different games. You just have to stay, because you're in a storm with your kids, and keep your course. At least that was my experience. And they will. And my daughter triggered me big time. And all I knew was, no, do not take it out on her. Do not take it out on her.
And did you succeed?
You have to ask my daughter. But she still invites me to come, so I must have done something right.
Well, there's a big gray area, I guess, right?
It always is. You never know. You never know.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Niels, I feel we're kind of coming to an end.
Feels like it, doesn't it? Yeah. Unless someone has very... what does Björn say? We can do anything as long as we are open and take that challenge to be available. Totally agree with you, Björn.
So spot on.
Yeah. And it's, I had a discussion lately with a guy who says, yeah, my boss is not, he doesn't show his vulnerability. Now, this is it's the final thing I would like to add. This is a difficult one for men. Because basically, if we're here to sort of make it safe for the environment, we're the protector. And then you tell the protector to be vulnerable. Well, that's telling the warrior to lower his shield. That's a difficult one. It's sort of counterintuitive for men. And I said, there's another one. Men have honor. Women give life. Men have honor. And you can always ask a man about his honor. Are you honorable what you're saying now? Are you, in Dutch we say oprecht. I don't really know what the English word for it is.
Sincere.
Yeah, are you sincere? Challenge him. Is this sincere what you're saying? Because then you're challenging the man on his honor. And if there's one thing as a father that you want to instill in your children, your boys, honor.
Mm-hmm.
Because because honor is something about you. I'm not talking about the romantic honor of the in the Middle Ages. I'm talking about, what is life for me all about? Why am I here? Because that gives a frame of reference. And that means that you can remain standing when everything around you starts hurling and there's a shitstorm going. Because this is where I stand for. This is what I do. You find your own honor. And it's not about the honor that's being imposed from others. That's what the big change for me in the 20th century was. We moved away from honor being instilled through church and state. We're moving to developing our own honor. And mine might be 90% the same as yours, but the 10% make a difference. And am I sincere towards myself? Can I face myself the moment I die and say, I did what I had to do? I did what I could do.
I think it comes down back to the trust, right? Because this is also trusting yourself. You're not faltering between these different things you think you should be. You have a solid direction. And that also, it doesn't even only make your children trust you, but I think it also makes it easier to trust yourself, to be more comfortable with who you are, where you stand, and
the biggest compliment is that my sons say, oh, Dad, we don't agree with what you're saying, but we can see you're true to yourself. Because that forces them to be true to themselves also.
Yeah, and then you can agree to disagree.
And then you can, and that when you say we can agree to disagree, what you're showing is respect. I see you. Mm-hmm. I see you for who you are. And I don't agree with what you're doing. I don't believe in what you're doing. But, but I applaud you for doing it. And this is very, very old. Voltaire already said it. I hate you for what you're saying, but I will fight till death for you to have the right to say it. Mm. That's honor. And what I find is once you hit that nerve, also with your kids, if you can, the sooner you can instill that in them, they get a sort of inner strength.
Well, it's all about curiosity towards your children as well, right? So that you just really take the time and create the space to really sit down with them. And maybe you don't even talk so much. Like I had that first Christmas night with my son. I just asked him questions. I let him talk, and he feels seen. And he feels like, oh, my father, he cares about what I think, what I say. And all of a sudden he even takes the space, and I think we agreed after that. It was 3 a.m. and we said, it was the best talk we ever had, wasn't it? He's like, yeah, it was. So we were and it's so beautiful. And he's just hugging me and saying how much he loves me. And I think it's so simple. Sometimes we're all so busy, and we're like going. We feel the pressure. And we have to get to school. And we have to get to work. And we have to make the money. And in the end, if I close this thing, I'm just gonna grab the board game and we're gonna play hotel. Yeah, we're just gonna sit down together, No goal.
Presence.
Yeah, presence. And from presence comes curiosity as well. So
I totally agree.
Yeah. Hey, does anybody have any questions? We have about 10 people left, I think. So
thank you for taking time to share with us. Continue the good work. Let's take care of our children. Yes, Björn, thank you. Ha det bra. Ha det godt. Vi ses næste gang.
Thanks, Björn. Anybody else?
Go ahead.
They might be typing. I'll give him a second. Also, one thing. Niels and I are going to do another weekend for 21 men from the 3rd to 5th of February. So a lot of the topics we talked about, we're going to be treating there. We're going to go even deeper into those topics. So if you think about this is your purpose, this is where I stand. That's a big topic that Niels is going to work on the Saturday. After that, we're going to have a sweat lodge, and on Sunday we're going to do some more physical men's work with Haye Pepping, and everything between. Eve and I will be doing. We will have a nice seminary house just across the border in Germany, with food, lodging, everything's included. And last time, Niels, did you like? I loved it. I thought it was so good, man. I really love doing it. I want to do it every month, but it's getting the men to come is sometimes a bit hard. But we only have 3 tickets left, I think.
Cool. Yeah. I so applaud you for organizing this. So good.
Thanks, man.
Great. Love you. Great.
Yeah, I'm super grateful that you're going to be there again because, I don't know what it is. I think everything together, the location, the program, and the team, it's I wouldn't want to change a thing.
Yep, it was a blast. So
it was fucking good, yeah. Hey, Martin.
Hey.
Hey, man. Hang on. There's some more thing to say. I don't know what it says, man. Lars Jessen, you probably know what it is, Niels.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Tom. All right. Okay, let's wrap it up then. Thanks, everybody.
Have a great day.
You too.
And see you.
I'll see you soon, Niels.
See you soon.